I'm not asking for them to stop it. I'm not asking for them to not do it. All we're asking is to just not desecrate our ancestors for it.
A culture clash in Coronado as Native Americans look to alter a naval expansion. And an investigation into U.S. warships after a third littoral combat ship limps back to port in San Diego.
Yeah, he knows a lot of words. He's a very intelligent dog.
A new study finds your dog may understand more than you think. KPBS Evening Edition starts right now. Good evening. Thanks for joining us. I'm Ebony Monet. The Navy SEALs are running out of space in Coronado. Today, they began a $53 million expansion. But KPBS reporter Steve Walsh says a group of Native Americans is protesting the impact on a historic burial site.
So just over the berm here, work began today at a new phase of a project that would allow more SEALs to move southward toward Imperial Beach. Right now, the Navy says they're bursting at the seams.
Facilities at Naval Amphibious Base are inadequate because most are 1940s era construction.
A group from the Kumeyaay Nation say they understand the Navy's needs. They're concerned, though, about the project's impact on their ancestors.
I'm not asking for them to stop it. I'm not asking for them to not do it. All we're asking is to just not desecrate our ancestors for it, which would be moving the border about 4%.
One burial site had been preserved earlier. The Navy determined that additional preservation was not necessary for this project since the site they were working with was already heavily disturbed when a bunker was built during World War II.
There is no disturbed to us. Once our people are in the ground and they're there, that is where our people were, and that's where we should be respecting them.
That story from KPBS reporter Steve Walsh in Imperial Beach. He says a larger protest is planned for tomorrow. The Navy expects construction to continue through 2018. Supporters for military coverage is provided by the Patriots Connection, a program of the Rancho Santa Fe Foundation. Navy officials are investigating a third major engine breakdown in a littoral combat ship over the past year. Most recently, in July, the USS Freedom returned to San Diego damaged. It made it on its own power 2 days after a leaky seal affected one of its main engines. The cause and cost of the breakdown are unknown. The Milwaukee and the Fort Worth have also broken down. The Fort Worth is on its way back to San Diego. It had been stuck in Singapore since January due to engine trouble. A decision tonight in a case involving voting rights for thousands of Californians. A judge ruled against the reestablishment of David Rector's right to vote. The former NPR producer suffered a massive stroke, injuring his brain. He was unable to walk or speak. A judge has made his fiancée his conservator. In the process, he was disqualified from voting. Disabled rights advocates estimate more than 30,000 Californians have lost their right to vote during the same process. Rector recently went to the San Diego Superior Court with several supporters. He used an electronic eye tracking machine to express his desire to vote. He also handed the clerk a letter, but the judge has decided more proof is needed that Rector truly wants to vote. His family and supporters say they are very disappointed. Federal officials have turned away a bid to take California's Gnatcatcher off the endangered species list. KPBS reporter Eric Anderson has details.
The California Building Industry Association and others asked the U.S. Fish and Wildlife Service to remove federal protection because they argued the gray songbird is not a valid subspecies. Federal officials disagreed. Service spokeswoman Jane Hendren says an extensive review of the bird's genetic heritage failed to back up the petition to delist.
The result of this does not change what we've already been doing on the ground for more than 20 years in Southern California, and that is working with local governments and landowners to implement landscape-scale conservation planning efforts, which have been very successful.
This is the second time the federal agency has rejected a request questioning the genetic lineage of the gnatcatcher. San Diego building industry officials say they were hoping federal protections would be lifted, but will continue doing their business under current rules. The Audubon Society says protecting the California gnatcatcher is important because the bird lives in coastal scrub habitat, which is increasingly rare in Southern California. Eric Anderson, KPBS News.
County health officials are warning parents their children may have been exposed to tuberculosis at 2 Chula Vista schools. The schools are Harborside Elementary and Castle Park Middle School. The health department says a person who is now being treated for TB was at Harborside between last March and June, and then at Castle Park between July and August. Free TB testing will be done at both schools tomorrow. A new bill may allow Californians to cast their ballots from jail. It allows some felons in county jails to vote by mail. Opponents of the bill say they fear politicians may start marketing themselves to prisoners if the bill is signed into law.
When people have committed that kind of a felony, they've violated the social contract. And so, you want a situation where you don't have felons who are voting for soft-on-crime legislators or soft-on-crime elected officials to be able to try to get them out.
The bill has passed through the Senate in assembly. It is now on Governor Brown's desk. As the Islamic State retreats from areas it once held in Iraq and Syria, the devastation can be documented. The Associated Press has mapped 72 mass grave sites in the region. Robert Bumstead has the story.
Talal Marat is one of the fortunate ones who have escaped the Islamic State group's brutal onslaught against the Yazidi minority in northern Iraq. When IS fighters descended on his uncle's farm near the Sinjar Mountains, the message was clear: convert to Islam or die.
One of them started to ask, "Who wants to be a Muslim?" He repeated that once or twice, and no one accepted. He said, "Come on outside."
IS fighters separated the men from the women and children.
There were too many of us there, so they forced some of us to lie down on the ground. And it was then my uncle told us to run because they were going to kill all of us.
Marat fled to safety, hearing distant gunfire as the male members of his family were shot to death. The area around the Sinjar Mountains is dotted with mass graves from IS's attack on the Yazidis. The Associated Press has documented 72 such burial sites containing up to 15,000 bodies. The size of the dot on this map is based on the number of known bodies at a given site. Many more are expected to be uncovered as the Islamic State's territory shrinks. With the help of satellite photos, experts have been able to pinpoint likely areas where bodies have been buried. This photo, taken in 2013, shows a field near Mosul. Here's a look at the same area 8 months later, after reports that IS fighters stormed a jail and killed the prisoners in front of a nearby ravine.
According to the reports, a number of the bodies, they would fall into the ravine, and some managed to survive. In this whole area, we see that the earth, the actual dirt, has been pushed over. You can see looks like a little bit of a scalloped edge that is being pushed over the ravine.
But the process of excavating and trying to identify remains in the graves has been slow. At a site north of the Sinjar Mountains, staff from the regional Kurdish government took DNA samples from remains and reburied the bodies. But some worry the Iraqi labs aren't properly equipped to handle the daunting task.
Look, we have a huge number of victims. For this work, we'd like the international community to help us and to cooperate with us in matching these samples and to examine the DNA samples.
More grave sites remain untouched, surrounded by fences awaiting examination. As each week passes, chances worsen that a body will be identified and that proof of a crime will be uncovered.
I want my husband to have a grave, so during Eid and other events I can take the children to see their father's grave, and we can visit him always.
Now living at a refugee camp for Yazidi people, Talal Marat and his mother await permission to move his father's body. Robert Bumstead, Associated Press.
He's fighting back after his insurance claim was denied. A man whose insurance company questioned the nature of his injuries following a bicycle accident. Associated Press reporter Marina Hutchinson says he's using his Silicon Valley chops to help others avoid the red tape.
When Dan Carr went for a bicycle ride in 2007, he ended up down a very frustrating path.
It kind of took over my life for a while, trying to figure out how to fight this, what to do.
Struck by a car, his injuries included broken ribs and he needed hip surgery. Ultimately, Carr was denied coverage over questions about whether he had been hurt.
So I had nearly $100,000 in medical bills I had to pay myself. That my health insurance, the auto insurance of the driver that hit me, and my own auto insurance wouldn't pay.
Carr hired an attorney to recover the money he was owed.
People think they're insured protected against a lot of risks, and it turns out not to be the case.
Rutgers law professor Jay Feynman, who wrote a book on insurance company tactics, says insurers often tried to avoid paying justified claims, forcing claimants like Carr to enter litigation.
It's a business, and like any other business, they have to make a profit. They do that by selling a product and cutting their expenses.
The insurance industry is regulated by individual states. John Morrison, a former commissioner in Montana, says more people should know their rights and fight for them.
You know, there are some insurance companies that decide to deny claims and then wait to see if people object. And if 10% of the people object and they then pay those people, they still get to keep the premiums of the other 90%.
The Insurance Information Institute says the vast majority of claims are settled to the consumer's satisfaction. They recommend that people do their research on websites like theirs.
You can also check consumer guides and see which companies, and there's a lot of them, that have gotten, basically high ratings.
Dan Carr, who used to work in Silicon Valley, vowed to use his technology background and created a website to help consumers compare insurance companies by price, record of paying claims, and service. Carr trying to help other consumers avoid going down the same frustrating path. Marina Hutchinson, The Associated Press.
Another beach weather day today in San Diego, but the temps are expected to drop later this week. Heather Waldman has tonight's forecast.
Well, not a whole lot of change across the Southwest over the last day or so. We still have that monsoonal moisture along the I-25 corridor, leading to a couple of pop-up afternoon showers and thunderstorms. Those will fizzle out later this evening. As far as Southern California is concerned, it's been dry, even drier than normal. Barely even have the marine layer sneaking in there this morning, and tonight should stay mainly clear along the coast as well. Of course, inland, nice and clear once again. The mountains will be a little bit cooler. Coastal areas will get to stay a little bit milder. All across the board, a very nice night. Temperatures in the metro area will stay close to 70 degrees with just a few clouds around. Again, that marine layer probably not going to be an issue tomorrow, so shouldn't be too many problems traveling on the roads. Airplanes should be taking off and landing on time. Temperatures along the coast generally mid to upper 60s. Ramona will be at 61, 62 in Alpine. Again, there's those cooler temperatures. Mount Laguna at 57. Desert areas will stay in the mid to upper 70s. Milder there, where of course it was hotter during the day. Here's a look at the setup for the day on Wednesday. Big area of high pressure, clockwise winds around it, so a little bit of a southeasterly flow coming into the deserts. Without a strong onshore flow, we're really not getting enough moisture to get that marine layer. So without that wind coming off the water, not a lot of murkiness, not a lot of cloud cover. Instead, a dry southeasterly wind, keeping even coastal areas mostly in the clear as we go through the next couple of days. There may be a fine layer of low clouds Wednesday and Thursday morning at the immediate coast. Temperatures will still climb into the upper 70s, though, during the afternoon. The general trend as we get closer to the weekend is that it is going to be a few degrees cooler. The winds will start to shift more back from off the water, and that's going to mean more clouds in the morning that could last through the early afternoon. As a result, the temperatures stay a little bit lower in the end. Farther inland, it is going to be on the hot side Wednesday and Thursday, highs in the low to mid 90s. Temperatures will then relax back into the mid 80s Friday. Lower 80s for the holiday weekend. It's looking very nice. Could have some clouds to contend with in the morning, but we'll see plenty of sunshine return for the afternoon. To the mountains we go, mid to upper 80s for the next couple of days, but then beautiful this weekend. Some great hiking weather. Temperatures will be in the upper 70s in the afternoon. Keep in mind, though, it's going to be starting off in the 40s. So if you're going to be backpacking, definitely need to pack the layers. Final stop takes us to the deserts, where it's going to be well into the triple digits for the next few days, but closer to the 90s Saturday and actually staying in the upper 90s on Sunday. Each afternoon filled with bright sunshine, clear, and a little bit cooler during the evenings. Heather Waldman for KPBS News.
Music meets technology at the monthly Music Hackathon in New York City. In tonight's Sci-Tech Report, Chalice Pocky introduces us to the coders who are exploring the intersection of hip-hop, technology, and education.
That's hot. With Monthly Music Hackathon, we take a little bit of a different approach. We're not thinking so much about the end result, we're thinking more about the process.
Right, but so this is where it starts?
You've heard of hackathons, collaborative forums that aim to solve business and social problems through technology. But at this event, they're hacking something unconventional, hip-hop music.
Yeah, hear it in the lyrics. If it inspires you, go ahead and write it.
We want to go through the life cycle of a creative project, kind of all the way from scratch, all the way through to a presentation in a single day.
The Hip Hop Hackathon took place at Spotify's New York City offices and was co-hosted by Young Hackers, a group that unites high school students from diverse backgrounds through technology.
We would always have like rap battles and stuff at our other hackathons, so we said, oh, let's just have a straight hip-hop hackathon, so then we can have everybody, who likes hip-hop make something and show it off to everybody else.
The hackathon kicked off with a panel of expert programmers, educators, and music producers.
You should be learning hip-hop culture in high school, not only in history class, you should be learning it in music class, you should be learning it in phys ed.
Then it was time for like-minded hackers to form teams and get to work.
One of the things I try to do all the time is take hip-hop songs and make them into acoustic arrangements.
I want to find somebody who is really interested in development to see if maybe we can work on a database, because we're kind of flying by the seat of our pants there and just starting the brainstorming process.
So our idea, we're calling it Hip Hop Hacks Maps, is the idea that you can look up a song's lyrics and then a map will appear with all the locations that the song mentions. Especially with hip-hop, there's a lot of like hyperlocality, throwing some terms, of places and even specific addresses that can come up on the maps. So that's us. So we're working on something called the Kimye Project, where basically it's Kanye's lyrics and songs that you can listen to on the website. Basically the way SoundCloud works, where you can add in your reaction at any point of the song, it would be the same thing, except you just add Kim Kardashian GIFs as your reaction.
The teams are wrapping up for today, but they'll be back tomorrow to put the final touches on their projects. On day 2, the groups continued, while also attending free workshops like DJ 101, Intro to JavaScript, and Songwriting.
Just wanted to be successful, but this game is very stressful. The devil's holding me back. Like, how can I let you shine?
Listening to hip-hop a lot more really has led me to understand, like, the richness of education and of knowledge in this, like, medium that is considered unconventional.
Insect, ligament, I'm the bee's knees. Grammatically correct like question marks and apostrophes. I'm allergic to failure, you could guess I never sneeze. Me and rap go together like a pot and two peas.
While this month the focus was hip-hop, the monthly music hackathon attracts coders and musicians from many different communities. We spoke with deaf composer Jay Zimmerman, a hackathon regular whose closed captioning and music visualization software aims to make music more accessible to the deaf and hard of hearing.
I'm trying to bring wireless captioning, so you can walk into any show and you get the captions on your phone and sit wherever you want. And it works great. We just have to convince people that we have this and that it's worth it to provide captions for everyone.
After 2 full days, the teams took to the stage to demo their work.
Hip Hop Hacks Maps.
You visit our app, and when you search for a song, a search executes, and you can choose the song, and hey, we're looking at Hello Brooklyn, and it shows you Brooklyn.
Yeah. As it starts, you can see that you have new GIFs coming in, and you can choose which GIF you really want to like. And the GIFs change as the music plays.
And of course, no music hackathon would be complete without a concert.
Avoid stress like your verses, avoid message. The young dawn, stay heavy, no question. Can't nobody outwear, it's a blessing.
I organize these events because I want to learn about different music subjects. There's basically an infinite number of approaches to music represented here in New York City. And if you're collaborating with people who have really different points of view than you do, you get a bunch of different, more diverse input, and so more options. And I think more options means more likelihood for innovation, more likelihood to make some new art, or new science, or a new project of some kind.
You can see more stories like that one on SciTech Now, Sundays at 5:30 right here on KPBS.
I'm Gwen Eiffel on the next News Hour, giving teachers tools to teach students of different races and cultures. That's Tuesday on the PBS News Hour.
A new study claims to prove what dog lovers have argued for years, that man's best friend can understand what people say.
Sing happy birthday. Yeah, he knows a lot of words. He's a very intelligent dog. I think those two things probably go together.
A new study published this week in journal Science says dogs understand both spoken words and tone.
He very much tries to understand what's going on. All the time, he's very sort of tuned into what's going on, so he wants to understand, and I think obviously that's a big incentive.
Researchers in Hungary say findings suggest a dog's ability to process language evolved earlier than previously thought.
We think that our results show that the big boom, which we imagine to be there in language evolution for the emergence of words, was not a big boom that happened in the brain. There is no special neural mechanism, it seems from this study, in humans that made us able to start using words. It's something else. It has to be something else because the neural mechanism is there in dogs as well.
The study's lead researcher says what makes human communication unique is the invention of words, not the ability to process them.
It seems that the big boom, if anything, is the actual invention of humans to start using words. The very idea that we can use words and not only intonation to communicate our feelings. So by studying dogs, we actually revealed something very exciting about how language emerged in humans.
The Associated Press spoke to dog owners who say they see daily signs that their pets understand what's being said.
She understands stay, come here, water, and then over there, go away.
She understands the difference, especially when you speak, for example, German with her instead of French. She understands intonation, the words, and you don't have to do anything else. I mean, each word is something she should do, so she understands it quite easily.
The study finds, like humans, dogs process words with the left hemisphere and use the right hemisphere to process intonation. Some say this is yet another indication of the species' closeness.
Brain Power inspired a year-long art project by middle school kids. They spent the last year building a 200-pound brain on wheels. It's for a special race in Baltimore. NPR producer Emily Bogle and L.A. Johnson introduced us to the Kinetic Club and its masterpiece.
The sculpture is like a ginormous brain. It's basically representing like your head and all the things that are going on in there. All the bad, negative things that you're thinking.
Basically, it's just a bunch of puppets on one giant sculpture, which is on top of a vehicle.
If the kids get tired out or the kids, are kind of confused, it's just because they haven't done it before. It's a weird thing to do.
Kinetic Sculpture Race is an after-school club designed to get kids excited about engineering and just to kind of have fun and be able to participate in this race.
The race is 15 miles long, and you have to make sure that it's completely powered by man. You are not allowed to use any motors.
I joined it because I like to do team building activities.
I want something that I could be as creative as I wanted.
Everyone came up with ideas. We listed them down, and most of them are turned into sculptures. So we got to use our own ideas. Nobody really felt left out of it.
Middle school is a very hard time where kids are unsure of themselves and looking to fit in. It's all these different kids accomplishing something, feeling good about themselves.
When you think of classical bullying, you think of a kid getting shoved inside of a locker. So we made a monster locker. Inside of it is a girl doll who we splattered with red paint to look like blood.
I also worked on the spaghetti monster that looked very crazy, and I made it have like teeth, like crouton teeth, because baguettes turn into croutons.
The sculpture is powered by pedaling, so there are two people on each side, and they are pedaling the cart, and the person in front is steering, and the person in shotgun is braking. There's also people in the back that are pushing the cart, and everyone else is basically like a pit crew and for switching in and out.
And it's so exciting because this is a group of kids who did something equal to what all these adults are doing with unlimited funds.
You don't aim for first place, you aim for getting the mediocre award, which is coming in dead center. So we're aiming to be mediocre.
It's pretty unpredictable. Last year we hit a sign and our sculpture fell apart, but we ran the whole race, so we won an award, so I don't know.
I learned that teamwork is a really important thing, and you always work the best when you're with a bunch of people.
In this, if you don't have teamwork, everything is going to get crashing down, literally.
There's just so many obstacles that it's really amazing to see them work as a team.
Kids did great. I would say the takeaway is, kids can have fun doing engineering, like a good mixture of both the art and the mechanics of it all.
I'm feeling really tired, but actually really happy because I made it through. It was just really enjoyable to get out there, do it, and run, and to do it with friends.
We need kids out there that can solve problems. So this is a context for kids to learn the skills for solving challenging problems. So this is why we do this.
Thanks for joining us. Good night.